Hi, we're here. Hi. Happy day. Happy day. We are here with the space to be creative. Um, I am totally coming into this situation a little bit rushed and frazzled and simultaneously super, super grateful. um, this is kind of one of those things that I want to push off my to-do list because it doesn't seem productive, et cetera, all of the things. And I I can't. I can't and I won't. um, this is too powerful. It's too powerful and I know it. And I feel so good after a creative session. And to be able to bring it to you with you, it's an honor and I can't stop. So we're going to keep showing up. I'm going to keep showing up as authentic as I know how to do because I don't know how to do anything else. I'm, like I said, a bit frazzled, just back from vacation. We've been here, we've been home. This is our fourth day home, and there's a lot to settle into. There's a lot of stuff to figure out. There's a lot of unpacking to do. We're still moving out of our old house and unpacking boxes here. A lot of opportunity to clear a lot of space, and yeah, it's a lot. Homeschooling, having our girls here with us. We are close to grandparents here, and they've been out of town also, and so they are in a similar position. Things are just kind of all balls in the air, or as the metaphor I learned over vacation, staticky TVs. I have a lot of staticky TVs in my space, this space right here. And they're all at a different tone and trying to bring through different messages. And as an antenna, I'm moving around, and that metaphor is alive and well in my imagination. So I kind of thought that today I would look through all of the things that I created over vacation. That's not mine. Looks like I've got some of my own and some of, I can tell this is a difference between my two kids. This is the almost 6-year-old. She does a lot of rainbows. She loves rainbows. Um, I think if I were to ask her to come back into this, we would have markers and she would probably draw some people on it. This is the 3-year-old, and I've witnessed her doing this multiple times, and I think she's onto something here. She starts on one side. She's really into digging up my colors. um, you'll see, here's my, bless her heart, she muddied this one up real good. Used all my Prussian blue here and just mud did this whole space up. So I'll probably need to get a spray bottle out and clean that up. Yeah, I'm just going to take some time to kind of go through what I created over the last 2 weeks. Much of this was with you in our sessions, but there's a little delay here too with probably with my voice. So this is my voice. This is where the voice comes from. And then, so it's a little bit off, that's why. Going through it and seeing what I've created and seeing what I'd like to go back into. This was the last thing that we did last week. All of these beautiful, I peeled the tape off of that one. I continued on. I think this is actually a combination of what I did with you and also what I did on my own. Maybe a combination of both. Isn't this so cool? look at these things here. This really fascinates me. And so I think I might today come in with a paint pen and doodle around on some of these things. I think I can actually create spaces not like in addition to these taped off spaces. As the creator, these still look to me just like strips of tape. I love the different colors that are coming through and showing through from where I put the tape. And I want those to come out, and the white is kind of overwhelming for me. So I'd like to make my doodles on the white. So a little bit of doodling today, and just going through some old pieces. I did bring water down here, but I don't think I'm gonna paint too much. This one turned out really pretty. I remember I took all of this red, orange, and yellow here from my daughter. She was playing with us too, and I had put down the pink, purple, and blue. I had done that on my own, and then she had all that paint on the yellow one, and so I smeared it on there. This was the last one I did with you guys. Oh, here's another Lumi. Isn't this fascinating? I just love seeing the difference in their work. And like, she's 3 years old, but she clearly has a style. This is self-directed, not my direction at all. Just access to the stuff and kind of, I don't know. It's fascinating. Really fascinating. I can't wait to see what she does with them. Oh, this is something I did on my own the first day I got there. I should have dated these. So I might come in with a little oil pastel or some colored pencil and kind of start defining some of this. Even a pen. Pen is intimidating. I think it's intimidating for a lot of people, honestly. It feels so permanent. But again, with all of these things, I am not trying to look at this as a masterpiece. I'm reminding myself that I'm playing here. What we're going to do with all of this play, still to be decided. I feel confident that some things are going to come up and that we have the holiday seasons coming up. And if nothing else, you have some handmade greeting cards to send to people. We can cut these up, we can collage, we can still go so far with a lot of this stuff. So keep it, hang on to it. This is level 2. This has gone level 2. So this is what we were leaving ourselves here. So there's definitely some room to go back into this one a little bit. And I think we probably will today. If you're already doing it, great. This was another, just a little piece. It was when she was muddying up this and I was trying to clean it up and I was pulling one color. That was also on my own time. We didn't do this. Here's a great example of that's what salt does when you hit it right. I have some new salt shakers. They're newly unpacked old salt shakers for my studio. I'm pretty excited about them. I was having a lot of fun experimenting, just making circles and kind of witnessing my paper dry, which I think is kind of a nice thing to settle down and slow down and watch and see how your paint reacts and what happens and how many layers you can get in there until I'd say this was probably the last part of this one to dry. It was right over here because I see a lot of layers. That means that I kind of like kept going in there and kept going in there until I started getting a defined line like this. Some pretty shapes in there. River pebbles. This was the first time I did it, and I had sprinkled a little bit of salt right here. But the salt, while it was still wet, 3-year-old Lumi, she came in here and muddied her finger in there, really pressed the salt into the paper, and now I can't get it up. So good to know that that's an option. I'm sure if I scrape at it real good, especially now that it's really dry. We haven't really talked much about it. But salt, what salt does is it hoards the, I'll stop doing that because it's probably not a very pleasant noise, but it will come off. What salt does is it pulls the pigment from the paper. So it sucks it away from the paper. You never really notice it when you flick the salt off, but the salt is tinted there. I have some things right up top here. Yeah. Score. This was an exercise I did. We can try this down the road too. Remember back to the glue, how we were putting the glue on. So these are dried now, but I still think I could put water. I know that I could put watercolor on there, and I'm just dabbing along my salted glue. So this is something you can set up. The black glue exercise, you have to wait for that to dry, obviously. This, you don't actually have to wait for it to dry. We did this part without it dry. You can do it once it's dry. So I could come back in here if I wet my watercolors again. I might try and put a little more pigment on here. Because then how cool, you could do a whole nother wash on top of it too. You could come in here, this is super bright colors. You could come in with a bunch of gray tones, a bunch of brown tones, very neutral tones. You could go rainbow again. You could do so much with it by wetting the paper. So salt pulls, it hangs on to that pigment. And that's why when you sprinkle it on your wet watercolor, it makes these beautiful little snowflakey type patterns because it's just sucking as much from it as you can. Okay, onward. Can you tell that the finite details is not where I like to settle? I'm kind of pushing my limits right now. I'm declaring that that's what I'm going to do, but we haven't got to it yet. This is a beautiful one that I did with, I think I did it with you guys. Maybe I did it with my nephews and nieces. My one niece is an excellent screen printer, and so she has all these beautiful screen printing techniques and ways of using her scraper. I'm operating more on the cardboard scrap that can be held as a scraper. But she was doing these really cool relief patterns, and I wasn't getting it quite wet enough, thick enough. This one was thicker. See that? And I did it a couple times. I did black and then I did pink on top of it. Now that I think about it, these may have been off camera. But some really fun stuff with that, the scraping of the paint. I really enjoyed that. Here's a fun little watercolor that we did. I believe we did that 2 weeks ago, right? With my other niece. She has practiced this now a couple more times. She's getting a big hang of this perspective right here. It's a tough thing to get. It really is. This deserves another layer. I could come in again with watercolors, or I could come in again with some colored pencils or some pastels, even chalk pastels. Be mindful with chalk pastels, you're going to get dusty. And if you wanted to do oil pastels and chalk pastels, I would do the oil first and then bring the chalk on top of it, because the oil is definitely not going to go on top of that chalk and you're going to gummy up your oil. Some more just blobules. These were, it was fun to just, again, see how your paper reacts with different colors coming on to different ones, how they mix, how the paper reacts. This is just an underlayer. I can do multiple things with this. Same thing here. And then this was a river scene. Now, one thing that we can talk about this for just a second, because I do talk about it when we do landscapes and when you're trying to make, remember how we talked about it here, where we have our light colors in the background, and then they get darker or more vibrant as you get closer. And you're gonna have more detail as you get into the foreground. So with that in mind, this was a river scene, and this tree right here is in the foreground. This is like in my face tree. It was blocking that whole view. And so I could have just left it out, but it was also kind of a feature point. But what I didn't get to, because my patience wears thin, and I mean, I sat here for, and you've got a bunch of people around. You're not necessarily doing it just with you, right? This life. These this tree needs to be, oh shoot, there we go, I moved it. This tree needs to be more vibrant, more detailed, more, it needs like all the attention. The fact that this tree is more vibrant and is darker, it's messing with my eye. It's not reading correctly. This looks like a ghostly shape in the background, even though it's not. Can you see that? Just something to be aware of and to recognize. If you notice down in here, I did make this more vibrant. That was the riverbank that was closer to me. This one was in the distance. And then I tried to make these two hills back here. These were burned. These were all burn damaged hills. So these trees are new. But these were less vibrant than this one. So that part reads well when you take this out. I perhaps should have just left the tree out altogether, but it was right there in my face. So just some thoughts and some critiques. Let's get our pens out if you haven't already. Hopefully you have. I did find my missing piece of charcoal that I had. My black was missing out of my stuff, and it in turn turned my whole box dirty. This is washed. And I've already dusted off all of these, because that charcoal, it will get everywhere. Watch out. If you get a loose piece of charcoal or any pastel, you're gonna make a mess. So keep those things contained. I do like to save old containers. If you can find containers that have a really good seal on them. Usually this is what I travel with. I have one of these for my chalk pastels and one of them for my oil pastels. See how dirty these things get. I have a feeling that my service is better, like up higher. I have to figure something out here. I had my Wi-Fi turned off. I didn't mean to. All right, we might be right on now. So these, see how dirty they are? Maybe it's not any better. There you go. See how dirty they are? That's what happens when you put them all together. Okay. There's my chalk pastel. Now, again, I use a harder pastel. It's not like the one that you have. These are new pastels. Maybe we'll get Barbara to give us a link for these. They're more firm, so they're not going to dust as much, and you can get better detail with these softer ones, but you're not going to cover a lot of space. So it's kind of nice to work with both. You kind of put in your first round. So body shot. This is what I like to transfer, these into once my box starts wearing out. And then did you guys add any of these? They kind of look like glue sticks, but they're color. These are paint. They're a lot of fun. If you didn't add any of these to your, I'll play with some of those right now too. What am I getting out here, guys? Let's get out my black pens. I'll get out my white pen too. And get all of those. So now that I've traveled and I've had my box kind of set up to have a lot of people with me, I'm going to scale it back. My box worked really great, aside from the fact that the way that I packed it, I ended up breaking the box on the way home. Bummer. But not the end of the world. I still have my tray, and I actually have another box that fits it really well. So I'm going to keep everything in here, but I am going to scale it back so that I don't have the excess of things. Was traveling with 3 different watercolor palettes. I had extra oil pastels. I had a lot of extra pens and a ton of extra paper. And so now my box will feel a little bit more not so precariously packed. I traveled with 2 bundles of brushes just so I had enough for everybody to play at any given time. Yeah, so I'm going to scale that back a little bit, but otherwise I double thumbs up for the way that I packed this. So we'll make sure that Barbara tells you all about it, and we write a little blog about how I packed everything. But this bag was really cool too. And I did see these at Blix, so I'll put those on we'll put those on the next list here. Whenever you travel, please do be conscious of altitude. I packed these at 8,000 feet, so you can see how that is. And knowing that this will, when you open it, so I'm gonna set it upright and let it sit upright before I take the pressure out of all of these, especially when you go from sea level back up. You really got to watch out with those situations. One of the tricks I've learned is with my paint pens. If you go up in altitude, take your paint pen. I would hold a tissue or something with it first. Let it be facing up. Don't do it on the paper first. Release the pressure one time up. I heard it go. So when you go down in altitude also. All right. So take all of your, because otherwise you're going to end up with a huge puddle of your pigment. Let's see if you can hear it. Oh, that one was loud. So that's just releasing all of that air pressure. I should do it to all of these while I'm thinking about it. Without wasting all of that pigment and ink. We just have gold in here, right? Oh. Well, hey, here's a learning moment. My finger, with my gold here, my finger stuck to the tip of that. You get a good look at the nib. If this hasn't popped out on you yet, this is a, let's see if I can get it to focus there. This is your nib. Some markers come with extra nibs depending on what brand you're getting. This is plasticky. The ones on the other 2 are foamy. You do have a direct route to the top of your pen, so don't go tipping that over. There's a little silver ball in there that keeps it shook up. When you put it back in, you want to make sure that you click it all the way down. There's actually a little sponge, kind of a wicking method going on down there. I would make sure, I can look in there right now and see that the sponge is not out of place. So I want to make sure I'm going straight down into there and pushing all the way. If you need to use something. Okay, so it should be back in there. And we release the air, which was the point. I'm not even gonna, well, I'll bring the fold up too. This is another pen that I picked up. If you find yourself in even a office supply store, always check the sale racks. A lot of times these pens, it's just a timing thing, but they go on sale. I would, unless you have a pen that you love so much that you don't mind paying full price for them, these pens you can usually find 70-75% off in a lot of places. So just pick them up when you can, when you see them. And then also a gel pen. So there's all my black pens in my kit. Put everything else away. And I've mentioned this before, that usually when I do this kind of up close detailish type work, I usually sit down. I don't have my stool in here just yet, and that's not the way I'm set up. So I'm not going to be sitting down right now, but I'm okay with that. I'm going to start with some of these fun little ones that we played with last week. I'll keep this one out as inspiration. All of these. So these are pretty much literally the ones that we worked on last week. If you have something else you want to doodle on, by all means, go for it. Go ahead and start with this. If I had a thicker Sharpie, I would maybe, as opposed to this Sharpie, the thicker one, if I had one right here, I would maybe start with that. But I'm okay with this. And what I am desperately looking for right now is a piece of paper. A thick piece of paper. Another thing that came in super handy while we were traveling, just to have in my kit here, it was a pack of not quite cardstock that I had picked up at a thrift store. So if ever you find yourself in thrift stores or yard sales and people are selling, packets of paper, it's so nice and easy just to throw them into your kit here, so that you kind of always have just a plain piece of paper. I might really appreciate that more than anybody because I have small kids, but I love just being able to have a little piece of paper, all that stuff. So I'm going to look at me, and just do one of these numbers. Okay, and just start give myself enough space here. Start lines that become shapes. And then as a rule, I skip. So see how I just divided that up? I'm actually going to just keep on. How about them apples? Okay, cool. I was able to just keep that going. Cool. I'm not sure how that worked. I don't know if it does anymore, but that's all right. Another shape on the inside of that is also an option. You get the idea. I know that we've done this before, but this is a huge part of the process that I think is often overlooked, is this slowing down and absorbing what it is that you've created, making something of it, analyzing it, evaluating for future thoughts. I also think that there's something very valuable to giving yourself. I mean, I've said it 100 times. So thank you for hearing me over and over again. But stopping and slowing down to do something as simple and our culture wants to call it mindless, mindless. And it's true. However, I think that it's maybe just a part of our mind that we are checking out of the analytical, the future thinking, the egoic, the one that wants to make logical sense of everything. Is it a left side, right side sort of thing where we're checking out of one side and checking into the other? This practice of just doodling and taking these things that we've created to another level is literally exercising a part of your brain that where the ideas come from. I mean, that and we've just been conditioned to think that that's not important and it's not valuable. But my, how wrong we are, huh? How wrong we are to think that it's not important to exercise any part of our brain. And to think that there's only one way to exercise our brain and one way to learn. What a disservice to humanity to think that this is not important and that this is not worthy of our time and effort. I'm gonna leave that like that because I want to use a smaller. So different shapes. Using a smaller pen to come in and just make circles. One of the professors that I had in my early years in college in the art department, he was always looking for and encouraged us to create random symmetry. So where it balances with your eye, but no two pieces are alike. And actually, I guess that might be my phrase that I coined between the two different professors, but wanting to please the eye. So you've all heard that like beauty is because of symmetry, like the most beautiful people in the world, one half of their face looks like the other half of the face, and that's what makes them so beautiful. If you haven't, that's a thing. I don't know. But it's more of an idea that your eye wants to, your brain, the part of the brain that attaches to the eye wants to balance things, wants to make sense of the things that they see. So you want to have symmetry in that balance, but also you want to have engagement so that the viewer stays there. So you have to make it enticing. You have to make it engaging. You want the reader or the viewer to get lost in it and to stay there. So random, symmetry, like you can have both, and that comes with the playfulness, and that comes with exploring different things, different mediums, different techniques, and allowing the perfectionist in you to let go by allowing and encouraging the randomness. So like I love that I don't make a full circle or a, a real circle. What would you say? Like an actual circle, a perfect circle when I do that kind of stuff. And I'm going to keep using different pens because there will be so much contrast in those pens. Oh, this one's not working so well. And so there I'm learning that the Sharpie, I thought the Sharpie would be really good on here, but it appears that it's not. We keep going with it. Seems to get better. You can do this with a pencil. You can do this on the side of your notes when you're taking notes in class or listening to a book or something. Patterns. Patterns. This is just a ballpoint pen. Just a little curly cue all the way along the edge here, getting bigger as I go. Normalizing creativity. I think that's what I'm on a mission to do here. Normalizing creativity. Normalizing your creative life. Here we are. Thanks for being here with me. Thanks for normalizing it in your life. Here's to hoping that the ripple effect will take effect and that you continue to lead creative lives. I'm going to do this one more with you guys, and then I'm going to take off. For another call, but I will see you again next week. And I look forward to creating some new stuff. What do you say? Get back into it a little bit more. Creating a little mandala. I've learned that mandalas are actually quite easy. I didn't realize it. I've just kind of created a circle and then worked out from that circle using a series of bumps and spikes and lines and drawing another layer around that circle and just getting a bigger and bigger circle as I grow out. We'll play with mandalas here one day. I sure do appreciate you guys being here. I know I did a lot more talking and a lot less drawing. Just where my head's at. I hope that you had some fun stuff to play on. I hope that you were feeling it and enjoying yourself. just going to put this right here while I'm seeing it. I see a lot of globule steps here. So that's another thing you can do with these is as you see shapes, you just start outlining the shapes. I'm just gonna create one there. I didn't quite see it. These might just give me something to doodle on during my next call. Yeah, I was just creating a little stacking stuff, and now I can come in and do a lot of this same stuff too. Here's some good ideas. The squiggle with the dot in between. See, this was kind of a similar mandala. I colored it as I went. These are just dots, little dashes. You could do little asterisks or little X's. Those create a fun pattern, little circles. Here on this one, I did, I don't know if you could see it very well, but this is a spiral. And I started the spiral small and then got bigger. Just a little different. Making boxes and putting circles on the inside. Making triangles and putting the circles on the inside. Lots to do. Lots of fun to be had. I hope that you have set aside a good hour to play and to continue doodling. I'd love to see some of your creations. And yeah, it's great to see you here. Thank you for being here with us. Thank you for being your creative self. We're here. We're doing it. And I'll see you next week. Bye.